What's going on, golf fans? It's your boy Gsluke with our round 3 prop stream for the Memorial Tournament. Gonna get you ready for all of your exposure. But first off, we'll look at the averages from today. We'll talk some weather for Saturday as well. We'll go through the Underdog and PrizePicks boards, deep dive any sort of bets that you want me to go through, and then of course some matchups on the sports books to help round off your exposure. But wherever you guys are, hopefully you're having a fantastic start to your weekend and are ready to talk some moving day golf for the next day or so. We got Jamari down there. Welcome on in with a question about Nick Taylor, which we can go through a little bit later on. Also, Joseph Hoover down there in the chat early. First off, welcome on in. I appreciate you guys always showing support to the channel. Smash that like button if you guys haven't already. And also say hi as you guys get down into the chat. But we're going to start it off with a look at the averages, which for today were a little bit easier than round number 1, which was kind of to be expected with the addition of so much rain. And the golf course got even more rain today than I think many people expected. A lot of the forecasts were calling for like a 1/10 of an inch of rain, and it was a lot closer to about a 1/2 inch that they got. So the golf course was a lot more receptive, and you saw that impacted with a lot of these averages. First and foremost, the birdie average went up a bit. We kind of expected that as well with some of the easier pin locations. And then the bogey average was about 3.6 per round. So that went down from what you had in round number 1, which led to about a 0.6 shot difference. So birdie average went up, bogey average went down a little bit. That's how you get over a 1/2 stroke change from round to round. The big real surprise for me, though, came with the fairway averages, which was about 8.28 in round number 2, which you would think with the addition of so much softness to the golf course that they would probably hit more fairways. But with how persistent that rain was, and I kind of expected it to taper off towards the afternoon when we had our guy Hideki Matsuyama teeing off, but it was pretty persistent the entire day. So anytime you have some water on the club face, you're going to see people spraying it a little bit more. And another factor that I kind of considered for why this average changed was maybe with the addition of some cooler temperatures, also less rollout. Players were trying to get a little bit more out of their drives to combat the distance of the golf course. And anytime you do that, I mean, if you play golf yourself, you'd know this perfectly. You try to hit the ball hard off the tee, you're not going to hit nearly as many fairways. So that was really the only average here that changed a little bit more than I was expecting. But your green regulation average, about 10.2 per round, was almost spot in line with what we had for the first day, which is kind of surprising to think of because the golf course was so much softer, but because when you were missing fairways, you were still able to hold the golf course. That's why the green regulation didn't go up that much, because when you hit it in the rough, you had a really tough time getting it near the green because it was so much denser and so much harder to get through than what you had for round 1. So my cat is making all kinds of noise in the other room. It's distracting me, driving me nuts right now. But hopefully you guys can't hear that. She's like scratching the scratching post and making all kinds of noise. But we see with these averages is that they're going to change quite a bit. So though we can look at these averages, try and learn quite a bit, the next day is going to be a much different set of conditions. So unlike the rain that they had for the entire round, it is much drier for Saturday's forecast. And the wind gusts are going to be a lot more significant as well. And your sustained winds are also going to be a lot higher than today. So obviously in round 2, it wasn't really the wind that was causing players issues. It was more so the wind that was piping through the place. So it's going to be in that 20 to 25 mile an hour range tomorrow with the wind gusts, and the sustained winds are almost 10 miles an hour higher than what you had for today. So I think the scoring is going to get a bit harder. The thing to note, though, is that the moving day setup is going to be a lot easier than the first few days. So though the wind is going to be a much bigger problem than what it has for the entire event, some people on the surface might think the scoring average goes to like 3 over par in that kind of scenario. But what you have to consider is that it's a moving day setup too. They've got some easy pins, like 3, 4 really stand out as easy pins. 6, 7, even 9 are some of the easiest pins on the golf course. Let's see what else. 13 is an easy one. 14 is also going to be very scoreable. And 17 and 18, which are 2 really tough finishing holes, are also set up a lot easier than the first few days. So I think that it is going to play harder, especially compared to today's scoring average of just 1 stroke over par. But if it played like 2 strokes over par, like what we had in day number 1, right? It played almost 2 strokes over par for Thursday. I think that's kind of what I'm expecting, is something like 1.5 to maybe 2 strokes over par, as opposed to something like 2.5 to 3 over. And when we take a look at the pricing later, like Underdog, PrizePicks, the different sports books around the industry, it's almost like they're projecting for like a +3.5 scoring average. So, I mean, I hate to say like that unders are the play or overs on birdies might be the play, but based on the kind of pricing that we have on these sports books, that could very well end up being the answer. So we're going to have to see what ends up coming to fruition there. We're going to go through the boards, try and find the best value that we can. But based on the kind of pricing that I've seen out there, I think that's the best that we've got to work with. So we can go through the pins real quickly. We can do that here together, but we're not going to spend a ton of time because I've already done quite a bit deep dive on it. What's going on? Bobby says, Luke is the prop goat. Great call on the Homa over. For sure. I appreciate the kind words there. What's going on, Sites? He said he lost power all day. No idea what happened. Watch the replays, I guess, Doug, but no one can give you a Spark Notes version on an entire day of golf. So luckily the PGA Tour does post some highlight shows, and you can check it out there, Doug. What's going on, Joseph? He said Kit Kat fever. Yeah, dude, my cats, they like to hang around me. Obviously in my office, they kind of just sit in the background, do their own thing. The issue is when I do these live streams, I kick them out because if I don't, they'll try to open the door and cause all kinds of havoc in here. And when I do so, they know that they're locked out of the office and they try and make their presence felt, right? They make all kinds of sounds. You'll hear them meowing at times in the background, just to try to annoy me for kicking them out of my office. So I find that quite funny at times. He said, with 14 playing downwind and the strong winds from the northeast in the front pin location, do I think people will try and drive the green? Probably not, Brett. They have a lot of rough over there, but they could move up the tee box at 14. So I haven't looked at the actual wind direction myself yet, but if it is playing downwind like you're saying, which would be a great shout, they might move up the tee box. I mean, the winds are going to be up. A lot of times you see the tour take it easy on these players when conditions get their hardest, which is, like I said, I think it's going to play harder compared to today, but I don't think it's going to be an absolute murder fest out there. For example, if they move up 14 and make it drivable, that's going to be really easy. 9 is by far the easiest pin that you could possibly have on that kind of hole. Birdie average might be 2.8 to 3 per round, but it's not going to drop to 2 per round like we sometimes see at major championships. Is the expectation that both the birdie average and score will go up? Birdie average, I think, might go down a bit, but it's worth noting the easier setup is going to make it not go down as much. Scoring average is going to go up a bit. So Travis, I think you joined us a little bit late here. I'm going to point you back 5-6 minutes on the live stream and you can catch the full thoughts on that because we gave a lot more details on that than what I just said. Let's go through the pin locations. That's really what I wanted to show you guys here. So hole 1, it's on the right side near this number 2 for hole number 3. It's close to where it was for round number 1, except it's a little bit further into the green, which I would say makes it an easier hole just because you don't have to deal with the slope to the front left like you had to for round 1. So hole number 1, an example of an easier pin. Hole 2, a harder pin. So it is in the back corner of this green. So it's going to play longer. It's also a more difficult chip shot because it's way further into this green. It's a difference when it's a couple paces further into the green like you had in hole number 1. Hole 2, when it's 40 yards further into the green, is when it's going to start to get a lot harder because, sure, it's great to have some room to chip, but unless you're finishing short of this green and then chipping to the back, you're not going to have a direct angle. Maybe this front right, you might have a decent angle to the back side of that green, but it's going to be a 30-40 yard chip. Even in this bunker, it's probably 90 feet toward that back corner, a lot harder than what it was for today. Next up, we have hole 3, and it's just in the front left. This is one of those super easy pins that I was pointing out because not only does it take the water out of play, I mean, you'd really have to hit a terrible shot to hit it in the water over there, but it's on a very flat portion of the screen. So I think you're going to see a lot of putts made at hole number 3. 4 is on the front side, so it's in the front right corner. Even if they tip it out, this is going to play 180 yards. So, by the way, hole 4, don't be surprised if they move up the tee box to make this a truly scoreable par 3. They've done it in the past year. Hole 5 is towards the middle right of the screen. It is the second easiest pin. The pin today was the easiest that you have at hole 5, but the pin for tomorrow isn't going to be drastically hard. The thing that makes it a little bit easier and why it's the second easiest is because it is so much further away from that penalty area. Next up, you have 6, which is on the front right corner. This also takes the water out of play, right? So round 1, it was over towards this left side. Even this middle pin kind of took away the water. Now that it's on the right, no one's going to end up hitting it over there. So expect more birdies and probably less blow up holes at 6. Hole 7 is a front left pin, so it was towards the left side today, but it was much further into the green. Now that it's near where this 3 is right here, you're going to see people have a better chance to get up and down, but it's kind of awkward. The miss here at number 7 now is going to be to hit it past the screen in 2, which, because it's 600 yards, isn't going to be something that you see people doing. So I actually think that 7, it's going to play to about the same kind of scoring average. I thought maybe a little easier because this is easier to get up and down to, but there's not going to be many people that are greenside in 2. So that's probably a little bit of a moot point, I'd say. Hole 8 is in the middle left of the screen. So this is a little harder than today, I would say, just because it's a longer shot. Also not in the low area like you had for round number 2. But just like the first par 3, it wouldn't surprise me if they perhaps moved up the tee box here because of the kind of windy conditions they're projecting. Hole 9 is a front left pin. This is one of the easier ones that you have on the golf course. It's not only tucked as far away from the water as possible, but it's also on this flat part of the green there, which I think you're going to see a lot of putts made when you have those flat portions. Hole 10 is in the middle left side of the screen, which it's easier than today because it's not on that back little shelf, but it's not as easy as what you had for round 1 where it was closer towards the front side of hole number 10, but it's a hair easier than today at least. Next up, you have 11, which is in the middle back. These middle back locations are more reachable in 2, but it's nearly 600 yards. And with the lack of rollout with the softer golf course, I think it's going to be kind of tough to get to this back corner. So another one where the par 5s maybe are a little bit more difficult, but I think the par 3s and par 4 so far have almost all been a lot easier. Hole 12 is a front left pin, which it looks easier on paper, but not in reality. This front left pin, you're going to see a lot of missed greens in front of it, which if you saw the pin from round number 1, led to a lot of water balls. So with the winds in play, I think 12 might be the hardest hole on the golf course, just like it was for Thursday. 13 is a front right pin. It is the easiest that you have at this hole. It's wide open. You have this little collar to run up shots if you need to. The up and down is the easiest that you have on this green. So, we've been saying that a lot, but there are a few that are going to be a little bit harder. 14 is not one of those. 14 is that easy pin that we had the question about before. And this is the one hole that they potentially make drivable at the Memorial. And because it is the front pin, it would kind of make sense if they're going to do it at all this week for them to do it tomorrow. So if it's downwind, they might not even have to move up the tee box for people to end up going for it. But I mean, let's look at the look off the tee, because I was really quick to say, no, they won't go for it. You probably have a few guys that go for it, I'd say. Like, just looking at it, I mean, it's wide open. It's not like you have to really shape it to get to the green when you're just looking at it here. I never played this golf course, so I guess I don't have the full appreciation for it, but 300 yards will get you right about where my cursor is right now. I mean, most players can take that on. Yeah, I think you're going to see a few guys go for it. Like, if they move up the tee box, then obviously I think pretty much everyone is probably going to go for that green. 15 is a middle left pin, so that's going to be an example of an easier pin than today. It's one of the rare par 5s. That's going to be a hair easier. 16 is a middle right pin, so it is about 5 paces to the right of where it was today. I'd honestly say little to no difference compared to round 2. 17 is in the back middle. It is a center pin location, which compared to today, I actually think it'll be a little bit easier. And then finally, 18 is towards the front right of the screen, which is, it's actually kind of close to where it was in round number 2, just a little bit further left, which little to no difference, I'd say, compared to rounds 1 and 2. So in general, there are going to be some easier spots, but the thing that combats that, and the reason why I wouldn't say the birdie average is going to go up, is because of the winds, right? You've got to consider the conditions at hand as well, which the winds are going to play a rather big factor. However, it's not going to be like the biggest change in human history because the tour seems to be trying to adjust for it a bit. So yes, it'll play harder. It's not going to play like +4, +5 though. If they went out and they tipped out the golf course and they gave us Sunday pin locations, then yes, yeah, it might play like +4 tomorrow, but that's not the case. These are clearly much easier pin locations than what you'd have for a Sunday. And the golf course isn't going to be fully dried out by the time that we get to tomorrow. So I'd say a lot of what we said before with the averages, I mean, I'd already seen these pins, so it's not really going to change that much about it. But just to give you guys some like hard numbers, like a birdie average about 3 per round is kind of what I'm projecting for right now. Bogey average, probably close to like 4.25 to 4.5 per round. So that's how I'm getting the 1.5 to maybe 2 over par scoring average. And something to consider about this golf course as well is that there are a ton of double bogeys or worse. In fact, today there were over 0.73 double bogeys or worse per round, which tomorrow might even go up with the kind of windy conditions that we have. So though it might only be like a 1.2, maybe 1.5 difference between like the birdie and bogey averages. It could be a 2 to even 2.25 to 2.5 over scoring average if you're going to see a ton of double bogeys or worse being made. So today, by the way, the double bogey average went way up compared to round one. I think round one, it was like 0.41, 0.42, something in that range. Today, it went up by about 0.3 from day to day. So kind of interested to see what happens there. I kind of think it's going to go down a bit. Even with the wind, just because today it was so soft, there was so much rain out there that it was impossible to hack yourself out of some of that longer rough. I think it's going to be a little bit easier to get out of it tomorrow. But the other thing we have to kind of add into that idea is that the rough is going to grow. I mean, it has all that water. It's going to be sunny tomorrow. It's literally going to grow overnight. It's going to grow in the morning. And as the day goes on, that might neutralize some of that evaporation that occurs. So I guess we'll see. How about Spieth? He was number one in approach, starting to really put it together. He said, "You think?" Yeah, let's add the "I think" just so that we don't jinx him. But yeah, great things to see, man. He's one of my favorite players, so I'd love to see him continuing it. What's going on, Antonio? Welcome on in. You're saying it now, guys/gals. Luke will have a monster day tomorrow. Pay for his Patreon now. I appreciate that, Bobby. I hope we do. I think we're kind of due for having a really good day because, yeah, we haven't had our best week so far, but that's just golf. That's just life, right? Sometimes shit goes your way. Sometimes it doesn't. And it's crazy because I actually thought about this today. I was on the golf course. First two holes today on the golf course. This is going to be terrible, but it's true. It actually happened. I could not stop shanking the golf ball. And I have not hit a shank on a golf course for like a few months. In the last like couple weeks, I've been playing amazing golf, like best golf of my entire life. First two holes, though, it was embarrassing. I literally had to have my friends videotape my swing to figure out what the hell was going on. Luckily, I've got two buddies with me. One's a plus handicap. The other one is a golf teacher. So they were able to get through it with me. And by hole three, I was striping it again. And I didn't have like the best round immediately after, but later in the round, I made a birdie streak. I had 3 birdies in a row. And then on the back nine, I added 3 birdies on top of that. So, and after that happened, I kind of thought back. I was like, wow, this week really sucked. This first two holes of this really, really sucked because it was literally embarrassing. I was hacking the ball around like somebody that didn't know how to play the sport, and then ended up with one of my best days ever when it was all said and done. Score was still well over par. First two holes, I think I made like a 14 between the two holes. It was like triple bogey quad. It was quite literally worst golf I think I've ever played, but ended up being a great day by the end of the week. So I think we got to remind ourselves sometimes that like shit doesn't always go your way, right? Like today, did not go my way for those first two holes, but rather than getting down in the dumps, yeah, I got pissed about it. I mean, I was moping my head a little bit. Buddies were just like, hey, let's get into the lab. Let's figure the damn thing out. So yeah, I guess to bring it back to your comment, it's like, yeah, might not have had my best first day so far. Like that's happened plenty of times before, but it's not the results. It's how you respond to it, right? It's not what happens to you. It's what you take with what happens to you and what you do going forward. So not to have too much of a side. I know it's just kind of a rant that I'm going through, but I think it's important, right? Like that happens in a lot of us in life. Like shit doesn't always go your way. Sometimes you get punched in the mouth, right? And you feel really down about it. Hey, just pick yourself back up by the bootstraps and get back after it, because you might just have one of your best days ever afterwards. And not to say that it's always going to work out that way, but you know, when it does, take it for granted. Like don't take it for granted, I should say. Appreciate it. And it should give you some motivation going forward. So yeah, today, this afternoon, like you may have seen my update on Patreon. I was like, yeah, I didn't have the best day, but you know what? I'm hungry to get back after it because I saw a personal example today of doing that persistence paying off. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm hoping it's a good day. And I gotta say, maybe that's a good vibes of things to come. Thoughts on X tomorrow? He finally seems like he overcame the injury. I've heard that from a lot of people, man. Like I didn't get to see his round this afternoon. So the eye test is, I think, what really has convinced a lot of people of that. I'm still waiting for the off the tee play to come around because he did lose 2 strokes off the tee yesterday. And then he lost a little bit off the tee today. But I mean, it was better than the last few weeks. I mean, he had a really good PGA championship with the driver. That is also a really good sign of things to come. But outside of that week, it was like 2-3 shots gained lost per round. So I hope you're right. Golf is a better sport when Xander Schauffele is at the top of his game. And we have like 4 or 5 studs in every single field. So for the sake of our sport, I hope that he can continue it. Just the driver, if he gets that going, I mean, everything else is there. He's shown us every other stat category that he can be a spike player again. And at his best, Xander Schauffele is a guy that gains across all 4 categories. I think we're just waiting on that one thing to turn around. He said, Luke's a player. You love it. Yeah, we had 6 birdies on the round. Like I've never had a birdie streak before, by the way. I had 3 birdies in a row, and I've played a lot of golf, a lot of competitive golf, tournament golf in my career, and I've never had that happen. I'm not really like a high birdie percentage guy most times, but we made it happen. And dude, I was swinging buckets on the last one. It was like a 25 footer, so it wasn't even like a very makeable putt. And we got it to go down. My buddies were pissed, by the way. I said this on the fantasy stream earlier. I was playing with the teacher buddy of mine. He's my age, so he's a teacher at my age, kind of cool. And then a plus handicap, literally semi-pro. He plays minor league tour, he plays some Latin American tour, PGA Tour stuff. I beat both of them in total birdies. One of them had 3, the other one had 2, and I had 6. So they got a lot of shit for the guy who was shanking it the first 2 holes to beat them in birdies on the day. Like it's, dude, if that doesn't explain golf to everyone watching this, then I don't know what does, right? I'm by the way, at my best 5 handicap, closer to 6.5 right now. And I whooped their ass combined on birdies today. By the way, Jeremy, if you're watching this, suck my nuts. I made more birdies than you. And same thing with Ian, if you're watching this, suck my nuts, bro. What's going on, Bobby? What's going on, Steven? He said, is the wind going to be generally from the same direction? I actually don't know, but we can check that right now. So no, it looks like it's kind of flipping itself. So for Friday, you can see it was going towards the northeast. Tomorrow, it's going to be going towards the south. So it is a little bit of a wind difference. So keep that in mind when you're looking through the averages. He said, Cabo pushed your 2-ball today. Dude sold hard down the stretch. He still had a good day though, right? I mean, Decky obviously had a pretty decent day himself. Yeah, maybe he bounces back for you tomorrow. You made 10 all square on the 17th hole in a club championship and birdie to win. Keep your head up. Exactly, bro. Like, by the way, I had more than a 10 on hole number 1 today. So I'm no stranger to those big numbers, but yeah, keep your head up. Thoughts on Young/Clark, both going out early and make a lot of birdies. So thoughts in terms of what market, right? Like, so thoughts is kind of a little bit too general for me to give you an answer that's actionable. If you mean like in general, what I think about both players, volatile wouldn't surprise me if they shot like 6 over par. Also wouldn't surprise me if they made some birdies and shot like even par. Like it's just kind of depends on the format that you're talking about. Like if it's a birdie line, like maybe if you could find some plus money at a 3.5, like plus 150, like I'd consider that on either one of those players. If you mean just in general, like 5 out of 10s, like I don't really feel any strongly about either one, to be frank. Like Cam Young, Clark, and DFS, I like because they make a lot of birdies, but like in general, like they're 5 out of 10 at best. They're just in shitty form. They haven't really shown me anything this week either to make me like either one, but they do make a lot of birdies and they do hit the ball a long way, which does count for something. Let's take a look at these strokes lines. So I was looking at the boards before. I was kind of trying to figure out what the heck to do. And I don't think it's drastically mispriced. Like, I don't think it's just go out here and only play fades. I also don't think it's as easy as going out there and just only playing positive stance plays. I think that there's some overs and some unders that could make a lot of sense. Like, for example, just to kind of point out a few here, like I could see myself fading a Ben Griffin because he's in the lead. Shooting +2 might be about the field average. Like, I don't think that that's a terrible lean. Also, I could see myself fading a Justin Thomas shooting over par because, shooting even par is going to be a hell of a round tomorrow. But like a Lowry at 73.5 could be an under. They have Xander at 73.5 on a site like Sleeper. Like, he could be an under at that sort of number. I think it kind of depends on the guy and the pricing. Like, it's just a much more nuanced board than some of the other ones that we've broken down here on the channel. And like, I mean, you got guys at 74.5 strokes. That's 2.5 over par. If I think the scoring average is going to be about +2, like maybe plus 1.75 in that kind of range there, then these sort of guys at 74.5, like they're going to be overs and unders. That make a whole lot of sense because to go over that sort of line, you're going to have to lose a stroke, maybe even a little bit over a stroke to the round to go over that sort of line. And even like scrubs or like average tier players, like a Tom Hoagie, a Thomas Dietrich, like, yeah, being average player, if not even slightly worse than average player, is well within their kind of range of outcomes. So that's the one thing I'll say about this slate is I thought they did a decent job with the pricing, all things considered. I do wish they posted more categories. Like, we don't have greens of regulation props to go after. The bogey board, I was looking at this one earlier too. They have like almost all of them at 4.5. I think the average for the field is going to be like 4.25 to 4.5. So I don't think that these are like drastically mispriced. but like a Xander's probably too high. Like the push equity at 4 feels like a pretty decent number there. Henley, I believe he's also at 4 bogeys. Like there's going to be a lot of doubles. Like that's part of the reason why the scoring average is going to be over par. The bogeys are worse, right? If you make a double, you don't get 2 bogeys or worse put onto your record there. That's what I think that maybe these prop sites aren't accounting for, or even like sites like Draftkings, other sports books that are posting lines for bogeys or worse, maybe aren't incorporating, is that all the scoring average isn't coming down to actual here's what I meant to say. Like if the scoring average was 1 over par, and we had a 3.29 birdie average, well, you would think that the bogey average would be at least 4.3 per round, right? I think that would be pretty reasonable because you'd go take out the eagles, take out the double bogeys, and I think a lot of people, that's how they break down these slates. But you've got to consider that there were so many double bogeys, and there were hardly any eagles today. In the track record of this +1 scoring average was accomplished in a much different fashion. And sure, tomorrow's slate will be a little harder, hence why I'm pumping up that bogey average a little bit. But to have the entire field, like even your elite tier players at 4, kind of feels like a mistake. Like a Tommy Fleetwood, him at 4 feels high. A Corey Connors at 4 kind of feels high as well. There might be some unders to be had on that sort of a board. So, like I said, a very balanced. I think there's some overs and unders you can play to get back to the fairway average. So that was kind of surprising, going down to 8.28 per round. If you guys were here for me talking through the reasoning behind that, I think that the water on the club face was the main reason why people were missing more fairways. But if it was because they were trying to hit the ball further, which could also be part of the factor why that happened, tomorrow that's not going to be the case. Tomorrow it's going to be warmer, right? It gets close to 60 degrees in the afternoon. By the way, the first tee time is at 10 a.m. local. So it'll be 60 degrees by the time the first guy hits the golf course. And because they're not going to have the water on the club face, I think the fairway average is at least going to be 8.5 per round, which, by the way, round 1, it was 9.18. So that would still be well below the round 1 average. I think, though, that there's a chance that it goes back up to like 8.7 to 9 per round. I won't have it going up the whole way to 9.2 per round again, just because the winds do matter. Wind does affect your tee shots, just like it does green regulation percentages. Both of those are going to get a little bit lower with the higher winds tomorrow. But the fact that you don't have that water to contend with might actually be a bigger factor than what you have with the wind there. And it's always skeptical. We always don't know exactly ahead of time how this golf course is going to play. But as somebody that plays a lot of golf myself, has played in all these kind of conditions, I would say that it's easier to hit fairways in a little bit of wind than it is in an absolute downpour. I mean, that's why those guys have their caddies standing over the golf balls at all times so that you don't get any added moisture on it. And it's also why they're cleaning off their club face with their driver every time before they go out there and end up swinging. So with this board, what that means is I think the average might go up a bit, and there might be some overs that could be pretty decent values. So like the main one that kind of stood out to me was this Robert McIntyre one, because he is a relatively accurate driver of the golf ball. But like even a Jordan Spieth, he's been hitting a lot more fairways lately than what you usually see. So let's go over to the stat tab. And by the way, somebody was asking before about Nick Taylor fairways. My apologies for not going through that one a little bit earlier. Nick Taylor, just because we're on that category now, he's at number 19 in the field on tour, actually, when it comes to hitting fairways. And what is his line? Is he at 9.5 or something like that? Let's see. He's down at 8 fairways. You might be a genius, my man. So Jamari, you had the first comment. Let's give credit to Jamari, the genius over there, because I think this is fantastic. I think the average might go up to like 8.7, 8.8 per round. And yeah, Nick Taylor, who is a well above average driver, top 20 on the PGA Tour this year, I think would be really good value at that sort of number. And in fact, the thing about these fairway lines that I think make them nice is that you can still take fades on some of these other sites and be able to mix them in. So let's throw that into the shopping cart. I like that one a lot after seeing these now. Where we leave off, though, you said Griffin was steady today. For sure he was. He's, I don't know, he can only do that for so long, though. He said he just wanted to bring up Taylor for the deep dive again. Yeah, dude. So my bad on not remembering that one sooner, but dude, you're absolutely spot on with that. I think that's a really, really good shout out on that. And he said he's arrived, he's winning it. Spoken from a true Tar Heels fan, but dude, hey, I got to give you credit. If he ends up winning, I'll remember you, man. I'll tell everyone in chat that you were right. Because you have been saying that the entire week. It hasn't just been today. So I do want to see where they have Nick Taylor over here. So Nick Taylor's at 9.5. What are they doing with this line on Nick Taylor? Am I missing something? is how'd he do today? Because like that's got to be it, right? He's got to add just like a really shitty driving day or something, and that's why they have the price so different. He hit 75% of his fairways for the week, 66 round one, and then he hit 83% today. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong category. That was greens. Whoops. He hit 64% of his fairways today. So he hit, I think that's nine or 10 fairways. And then round one, he hit 71%. So yeah, he's gone well over this in both days so far. I see no reason why he should be down there at 8. So yeah, let's use that. And then let's find some sort of a fade to take. I don't love those bogey fades. We already talked about why. I think if you're going to take any fades at this golf course, you do it on strokes, because with strokes, you can get the double bogeys, which I think there's some holes where you could see some double bogeys tomorrow. And the birdies, I don't think they're going to be impossible to come by. Like we've already mentioned, I think it's going to be about 3, maybe like 3.1, 3.2 per round. Getting to 4 birdies isn't going to be absolutely unheard of. Now, you could even take overs for guys at 3 birdies. Like an Alex Noren kind of stands out. He's a pretty good grinder. Adam Scott, he's an above average birdie maker most years on the PGA Tour. Like you could even consider that. But if you're looking for fades, like the clear category to do it with is here, because you're really getting all the benefit of those double bogeys, which considering that there was over 0.4 per round one, and then over 0.7 per round today, it makes a massive difference. So just going through this board and trying to find something to pair this up with, I kind of want a 73.5 on somebody that's struggling with the ball striking. But the issue is with PrizePicks in particular is that they've priced this for the occasion. They've priced it up about 0.5 compared to most of the other books. Compared to sports books, they've gone up in a few cases. And compared to Underdog, they're higher in a lot of cases too. So maybe not that surprising that they're also lower on Nick Taylor's fairways. Maybe just because they think he's going to struggle in some of those heavy wins. But trying to find a fade with this sort of board is very, very difficult to pull off, because they have everything so high. And, just comparatively, when you use another site like Underdog and try and find the best line value, you're not really going to find it over here. So you might not be able to enter. I want to find someone for this Nick Taylor prop, though, because I really do like it that much. I'm not usually a big fan of these birdie better matchups, but I will at least give them a look through before we move on. I usually look for unders just because you get the extra 0.5 on those players. I like a Dunlap. He could make some birdies. He's a good putter. He just can't keep the ball on earth. Don't love any of those matchups. I guess we could go double fairways. Like we could just find an edge and then just hammer that, right? And if it ends up coming to fruition, try and get some correlation there. Robert McIntyre, let's take a look at his driving accuracy. I believe he's been decent this year. So he's number 52, so slightly above average in that category. But comparatively, the best value on the board here has to be that Nick Taylor prop, just because when he's top 20 in the category, I think that speaks a lot for itself. And he's gone over it really easily in both rounds so far. Let's look at Jordan's driving accuracy, and let's look at Ben Griffin too. So let's start with Griffin and then go to Jordo. So Ben Griffin's only numbered 97. So yeah, not that elite in that category. Let's go to Jordan Spieth. So number 81. So out of the ones we've seen so far, the best Nick Taylor, number 2 are Robert McIntyre. I hate to get the 2.75x because it isn't like an optimal payout, but it's also not the worst on this sort of combination. So the thing I kind of like about McIntyre too, that I'll throw in here is the fact that he is accurate off the tee most times, but he's also from Scotland and he is very familiar with how to deal with some wind. So if there's anyone that should know how to deal with these kind of conditions and still hit fairways, it probably is the big lefty Robert McIntyre. And they're going to have some soft fairways too. So let's do this. You know what? The payout might not be ideal, but I do think that both of these are going to end up hitting. Let's go to Nick Taylor over with that push equity at 8, and then Robert McIntyre for the over at 8.5 as well. 2 players that are well above average accuracy guys. And for the projected field average, let's put it at 8.7 per round. So even if Taylor loses like a half a fairway to 0.75 fairways per round, he'd still be pushing that sort of number. And Robert McIntyre to go over just has to gain about a quarter of a fairway to the field, which to take a look at the averages, let's just go ahead and find his baseline. I don't know if it's like that much higher than what you have for the field, but I am curious to do this math real quick. So what I do is like, you can just take a player's raw average and then just subtract it by the PGA Tour average. I know it's pretty self-explanatory, but you can do that with some of the stats that you see here. So 61, oh my God, I wish I could type correctly, save me so much time. So he averages 8.603 fairways per round. PGA Tour average this year is 59.25%. So we take the 14 multiplied by 5925, and that is 8.295. So it's about a 0.3 fairway difference between those two numbers. With the 0.3 fairway difference, if we think the average is about 8.7 per round, then that puts them, this is just rough math, right? It's not exact projections when you do it this way. But when he averages about 0.3 fairways gained per round, that would put him at about a 9 fairway projection, which is 0.5 over, and at exactly the kind of number that we need for him to go over this sort of thing. And the sportsbook line value is always something I use as like a last second check on these. And I know McIntyre was like minus 130 for the over, so he kind of makes sense if we're taking that kind of narrative. Let me actually just search up McIntyre to make our life easier. So yeah, you can see the minus 130 odds. Where is Nick Taylor at? I'm assuming he's at like 9, right? Or like 9.5 or something. So did they just not have his line posted? So yeah, he's 9.5, which I kind of agree with. He is a very accurate driver. And though he is juiced a whole lot under, the whole way down at 8 feels like a little bit of an overcorrection. So I like those two. Those will be the combination that we take for 2.75x. And next, we'll move on to the underdog side. So underdog, we were kind of looking through before. They didn't have as many props to choose from, but they do have better payout structure if we are going to try and take some strokes fades. And compared to PrizePicks, their board is about 0.5 lower on a lot of different players. So let's just go there for our next leans. They still don't have any birdie or better lines up, which is kind of disappointing on the underdog side. But if we try and find a few fades that could make some sense, like I was considering the Ben Griffin one before, but I feel like we might be able to find somebody better at that sort of number to take a stand against. He is the leader, maybe dealing with some pressure. I think that's fair to say about a player in that situation, but he's also playing some of the best golf of anyone in the field. Unfortunately, though, there's not a whole bunch of guys on this underdog board. They do have some Mackenzie Hugheses of the world at that number, but he's 0.88x already for the over direction. So maybe we could take a Hughes over, maybe he's not the best example of it, but somebody with a multiplier for the fade, if we could find a positive stance play to mix in with it. But because they don't have a lot of these categories posted quite yet, I don't think it's going to be as easy to do so. Let's take a look at the fairway board though. I know that Nick Taylor's a lot better value on the other site, but let's see who else they have posted on here. So they've got Andrew Novak and Tom Hoge. So let me see where both of those guys kind of rank out. So Hoagie's number 70, so he's pretty decent in that category. And let's go to Novak. Let's see where he ranks. Novak, okay, not great. Number 124. So maybe not somebody that we had to research. Let's look at McNeely. Pendrith doesn't hit that many fairways, but I guess I am curious to see where he ranks. Number 54. Okay, maybe I am not giving him enough credit. That's just along the lines of what we had with McIntyre before. So maybe we could do that. Let's find McNeely too. So McNeely's only number 105. Did they have a Taylor Pendrith one on here before? Let's see. So they did, and he was even money at 8.5. I mean, it's not the end all be all. I could still take the over 8.5, especially if I think the average is going to be 8.7 per round. Let's see who else we have on here though. So Victor does hit some fairways, but I don't love the multiplier there. Let's see what Aubert is. I know he hasn't had the best driving year, hence why he's number 104. I am curious on the sportsbook odds. He's probably even money. Yeah, just like the other few guys we've seen, he's about even money at that sort of number. Let's continue going through these though. So the 8.5 on Cantlay might be it. He hasn't been a terrible driver this year. I know last year he was really accurate off the tee. This year only number 76, but he does have a really good course history around here. Has a really good track record at Memorial. I guess last year wasn't the great example. Was it the year before that? I know he had one of these years where he was a very, very accurate driver. It was a couple years ago. He was number 26 on tour when it came to hitting fairways. And let me see if we could do some research on Cantlay. So let's go back to 2024 and bet the number. And let's see what he did last year on this category. Let's do that. Let's bring up Cantlay. And let's go round by round. So never mind. I didn't realize that they didn't have the fairway stuff on here. So we can still find it, though. We can just look it up on the PGA Tour website. So 2024 Memorial. I'm also going to look up 2023 Memorial. And let's go 2022. Let's just might as well do the whole deep dive while we're at it on a Patrick Cantlay. I just want to see what he's done on this line for his career, right? And, last fives, recent form metrics aren't always the best to use on golf, but I think they can be helpful if they're done properly. So let's see. What? Flash score? I don't want that bullshit. Give me the actual PGA Tour leaderboard where I can actually find the stuff I'm looking for. Let's go to Cantlay here. Cantlay missed the cut last year, so didn't even have his best stuff, but let's see what he did off the tee. It's 6 and 10. So 1 and 1. Okay. It's 50% hit rate. Doesn't really tell us much. But let's go to a few years when he's actually played well here before. So let's go to Cantlay this year. He finished in 30 a couple years ago. 30th place, I should say. He went under, over, under. So still exactly a 50% hit rate. I mean, yeah, if he's 50-50 and he's like a tour average driver this year, then I guess it would be a no-go. I was expecting him to be a little bit better in this category. This year, I'm assuming he did better. So yeah, went over, under, over. So that's 3 out of 4. And then let's look at the 2021 Memorial 2. Reason why I want to do that is I think he won that year, if memory serves me correctly. And you'd have to think that the winner probably hit a lot of fairways that year. So let's see. Let's get the best of the course history that we could find for Cantlay. So under, over. So in the years that he played well here, so those last 2 years, he has a 75% hit rate. And then after that, the last couple years that he's played at this golf tournament, it's been closer to a 50-50. So I think I kind of get why he's at that number, because recently that's been his hit rate here. And in fact, on the sports books, he's minus 135 towards the under. I definitely don't agree with that. I think if anything, he should be juiced towards the over, but that is enough of a data point to take me off of that sort of thing. Like, I'd rather take a Pendrith at that point. Like, Pendrith has been the better driver this year, and you don't have that data point working against us. Let's look at Tony Finau. How has he been driving the ball this year? I'm kind of interested to see that one. I know he's been a little bit more accurate over the last few years. Let's make sure we're on the right season here, because I think we're still back in 2023. Let's find 2025. So this year, still about tour average with the accuracy, which isn't terrible. Like, you'd still lean on the over at 8.5, because the average for the field, at least my predicted average, is close to 8.7. I've got to admit, the Taylor Pendrith one feels kind of sketchy. Like, I'm not sure I really see anything on Underdog right now that I really want to enter. And that might just have to be the case here. Like, I hate to leave you guys hanging. I hate to do the whole deep dive and then say, I don't see that much that's value, but it's true. Until we see the golf course, and I know for sure whether it's playing way easier or way harder than what we have, at least for my projections of about 1.75, the 2 over par, I kind of agree with these. I mean, that was our first take on this board, is I didn't think that they mispriced it all that much. And without all the selection on Underdog quite yet, it's like leans, if anything. Like, we went through a few leans, like especially for fairways, I thought made sense. Maybe even some strokes leans, like the Ben Griffin over on strokes that we're looking at before. But I don't think there's anything that I personally want to enter right now. So we did have that PrizePicks slip. What I was looking at, and what we're going to do here together, and we normally don't go through sleeper, but we're going to do it this time because their board was a lot better for fades than what we had with Underdog and PrizePicks. So while Underdog and PrizePicks have adjusted for the conditions, and I think they did a good job with the projections that they did, I don't think that they did as good a job here on Sleeper. So we can't bring it up on the webpage. They don't have an actual web version yet. It's only on the app right now. So if you guys don't already have Sleeper and you haven't already downloaded it, you might want to, because we're going to enter some stuff here in a second. And use code Gsluke if you guys are signing up there for a deposit match, and help support me too, giving me some promo funds. So it gives you that little bit of a promo, and it helps support the channel too. So why not? Yeah, dude, I think that's a really good line on that. So definitely good stuff there. And yeah, everyone should give him props for that if it ends up hitting. If it doesn't hit, don't give him shit for it, right? Because I was the one who co-signed it and gave it as a play. But if it hits, we're going to let him get all the praise for it. Like, I don't want any of it if it ends up hitting tomorrow. But if it misses, Jamari, I'm taking the sword for you. Trust me, that's how I roll around here. If people give me plays and I like them, you get protected from the angry mob. Let's put it that way. Thoughts on Hoagie in general? He's number one in approach, and Hoagie, when he's hot with his irons, he stays hot. I'm okay with it. I don't think he's going to be too chalky for DFS. I do think he's going to get some ownership, though. So, I'm at like a 6 out of 10 just because he is getting that ownership. But if we were just to take that aspect out of it and I'm just handicapping Tom Hoagie, I think you're spot on. He's playing extremely well, and he does tend to sustain that form quite well. How about fading Scotty Fairways at 9.5? Oh, he said he got 6 the first round and then 9 with less wins. I don't love like the 2-round sample sizes when I'm trying to make a lot of my bets. So I'm I wouldn't use that as the reasoning for getting to it. I would stay away from that one. So what I would default to would be traditional analysis. If we're looking at that Scotty Scheffler one, and he's a very accurate driver. In fact, if we go to that tab, Scotty Scheffler, I believe, is like top 30 on tour in the category. So where's he at? At number 26 in driving accuracy. So if it's like an 8.7 average, I'm putting him at like 9.2, 9.3 at least for a projection. And then you've got to remember that it's Scotty Scheffler too. So maybe even bump it up a little bit more because it's world number one. He's playing such good golf recently. I'd personally stay away from that one, man. But if it's a good projection in your projections, I can't talk you off of it. If it's something that your modeling is putting you on, then by all means, I would play it. Like that's normally what I tell people is stick to your process, stick to your guns. Because if you don't, and then after the fact it ends up hitting, you're going to feel like an idiot sometimes. And you don't want that FOMO. It kind of sucks. Matt Hughes, 73.5, and the under is plus 110. He's a lead around the green. I was kind of looking at his over when we were taking a look at that 0.88x. I only worry about his off the tee play because with how soft the golf course is, how wet the rough is, I mean, if he's missing off the tee, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. So, yeah, I'd probably stick away from that one too. You said you faded Griffin today and it didn't go your way. I didn't quite do so myself, but I might have to pull the gun tomorrow, man. I don't know. Like you win the week before, you have 2 really good rounds. When do you start to run out of energy? I mean, that's usually what happens with guys in this situation. But who knows? Maybe the Tar Heel pulls through for my guy, Bobby. He said, is Xander that bad at hitting fairways? You see him at 7.5. So yeah, I'll show you the Xander Schauffele stuff because historically, no, he's a really good fairway guy. He's normally a very accurate driver of the golf ball. But this is why we actually had the comment before about like whether Xander Schauffele was back. This is why I say that he's not back yet, because the off the tee play lately has been horrible. In fact, he's only gained accuracy to the field in one event over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 events. So he's got a 10% sample size of being able to gain accuracy to the field. And that goes the whole way back to the Tour Championship. So if you just look at this year, I believe it's like one of the last 7 events that he's been able to gain that accuracy with. And you can see before that, it's not like he gained accuracy every single time, but he did most times, right? For the year, he had 5 to 7% fairways gained for his baseline. That is so much worse now. Like now he's losing on average like 7 to maybe even 10% accuracy per event. That's what has to turn around for him. And that's why he's down at 7.5. They're accounting for some of that recent form with him. And I agree, it's Xander Schauffele. So I would expect him to figure it out at some point. And, just for the record, I would definitely lean over on Xander Schauffele, especially with what he's shown us so far this week. So definitely could take that. He said X is 65th and off the tee this week. So this week he's bad. Let's also go back to the PGA Championship here. So PGA Championship, he did slightly lose accuracy, but look at his off the tee play. He gained 1.6 shots gained off the tee per round. So I think, 7.5, I would lean over. Like I get why they have him lower, but I don't necessarily agree with it. Do they have fairway bets for Fleetwood, Siwoo, and Bradley? Let's check. I didn't think they did, because they're very accurate drivers. So I get what you're looking for there, right? Trying to find guys that are hyper accurate to hit a bunch of fairways. I don't see him on the board though, which is kind of unfortunate. He said, that he's been injured and his numbers this year are misleading, but who's looking healthy? You're looking at Xander, you're saying he hit 7 to 7 fairways in rounds 1 and 2. I think so, man. I think it's okay. Like he went under, like you said, 7 and 7, but I don't think it was that bad. So lean over for sure. And yeah, he wasn't that far off, and he even lost strokes off the tee. So like you said, he just has to be a little bit better to hit that over. He said Straka more than 3.5 birdies is 1.97x. Let's do the line shopping. So over there on Sleeper, they normally do a pretty good job at pricing the board. They at least for birdies, they base it off the sportsbook odds. So I'm assuming that he's juiced under, right? And that's probably why they're doing it. Maybe he doesn't have a line. Okay. So I guess they don't even have those lines posted. What is he at? PrizePicks. They don't even have a line posted for him. I mean, with that kind of multiplier, that's kind of nice, but also remember that the normal multiplier is 1.78x there. So it's really not that massive of a difference going from that 1.78x to that 1.97x, because it's not like an underdog slip, right? Where you have the 1.97x and you're getting the whole payout times 1.97x. They do it a little bit differently there on Sleeper. So we're still going to go through that board. I actually think fades are the way to go especially with like stroke stuff. He said, Jeremy, don't fade Griffin, bro. I may not even fade him myself, Bobby. So I'm kind of there with you. He said, shot of bourbon for Jamari. Amen to that. A good bourbon too. Yes. Well, and by the way, if he has a good day, maybe we'll send a bottle. I don't know if he drinks bourbon. If he does, maybe we'll send something to him if it pays us all out. What's going on, Joseph? With the easier pins, you like smashing some overs on birdies and hope the win isn't as bad. That could be a strategy, man, but I would just wait till tomorrow. Like, that would be skeptical at this point. I mean, if you want to take that kind of strategy, all you have to do to really execute it properly is wait until 10 tomorrow, right? Wake up with your coffee, sit in front of the TV, watch the leaderboard a little bit, and give it about 40 minutes. So wait until maybe even 11 o'clock Eastern time before you start to fire off bets. Wait till 11, wait till they have 4 or 5 holes under their belt, and we're going to have a really good idea on conditions. If the first 5 holes are playing like a whole stroke over par, then no, I would not be taking overs on birdies. If the first 5 holes, we're about an hour into play tomorrow, are playing close to even par, maybe even under par, I actually think that's a possibility. Like, it could go one of 2 ways. I mean, either think it could play really easy if the wind doesn't kick up like you think, or it could play super hard and it kicks up more than you think. Just adjust to that tomorrow morning. That's what I do for the most part. Like, I know I said right now I didn't have a lot of underdog stuff that I like right as of the second. It doesn't mean tomorrow, right? I won't be able to find a lot of that stuff that I like. So that's usually my strategy and what I recommend in these situations. I mean, we could go through all the hypothetical situations that we want to talk about. Oh, if this happens, this is the impact on conditions, but we're guessing, right? We're just trying to like guess what happens ahead of time. Just wait till tomorrow. That's my best advice for that. Griffin has sold his soul to the devil. Maybe that explains how he's playing so well, man. I don't know. I hope he continues it for you, because that is just too good of a bit. And he said FanDuel has set birdies under at -150. So, okay, so they do have him there. I guess that's why he's at that sort of a number. At 1.97x, then, I don't think that's a big enough payout shift, Kim. So and that's just because of the way that they do the payouts over there. I actually don't know off the top of my head the kind of multiplier that we need to overcome that kind of juice, but that's why they have it there. And he said you have Sibu over Henley if you lose. I'm not reading that. I also have to ban you because we can't say that out of pocket stuff in chat, especially like, come on, bro. I gotta say, I thought it was funny too, but like, come on, we're in a public space. There are people watching this that don't want to see those kind of comments. Like, come on, my man. You make another account if you want to and come back, but don't. It's a funny comment, but it's funny with the boys, right? Like, let's not say it in front of all these other people. So, all right, let's go through some matchup stuff next. So we already went through a lot of the props. Actually, I want to go through sleeper. I promised you guys that. My bad. Which I was eyeing this up before. There were a few fades that I was already pretty close to entering. One of which is Nick Taylor, who's at 73.5. He's at 74 and a half, a lot of these other books. So Nick Taylor, kind of like a Ben Griffin, is somebody that I think kind of falters. And the reason why I'd rather fade somebody like a Nick Taylor is because he's a lower tier player than a Ben Griffin, right? Like Ben Griffin, you could fade because he's in contention. Nick Taylor, the lower tier player, is a little bit safer at that sort of a number. So the 1.7x is a little bit lower of a multiplier than what you can find in some other players. But let's see what we can cook up here. So I'm ideally looking for 2 fades just because that's what this board kind of lends itself to. But they took a lot of guys off. So they had more guys posted before I went live on here, which is very annoying that they decided to just pull the plug on a lot of these other different players. Let me see what they have for birdies. I know we had the Straka one shouted out before by Kim. I'm looking for a fade, ideally, that maybe has a decent multiplier on it. They do have Hovland at a 1.88x, but he is one of the more aggressive players, one of the higher birdie percentage players that we have on tour. So maybe that's not the best example of somebody to fade. If you took somebody about 1.6x on sleeper along with the Nick Taylor prop, it looks like that would be about a 2.5x payout. So, I mean, that's like what we're getting on PrizePicks. Now, if the line value is enough, you might still be able to take it. It's just that, I mean, we could find something better. We can find a better multiplier to mix in. We could go with a positive stance play. They do also have some guys posted over there that are at pretty ugly numbers. Like, for example, they had Xander Schauffele at 73.5 when they first posted the board. And they've started to move a few around. I think they even had Lowry at 73.5 when they first posted the board. So now he's down at 72.5. So maybe is a decent fade at that kind of number. I hate these prop sites and how much they move these props. Like, they've got to realize that as a consumer, no one wants to be chasing their tails, on changing lines, trying to figure out what to bet. And I know they're trying to like protect their projections, trying to post like the best that they possibly can because that's what their job is evaluated on. But at the same time, these companies like Sleeper, Underdog, PrizePicks, I mean, you've seen them all with the bumps. They're ridiculous. They're just all over any touts, just moving stuff. As soon as they really say anything about these, it makes it unplayable. Like no one wants to play on these sites when they just move so quickly. I mean, hell, even me as a tout doesn't want to even put out content for these sites where they're just constantly moving all of these around. Let me see where they have Connors and Hovland on a site like PrizePicks. Just all curious there. So Connors is 73. Oh my goodness. Of course, we just went into full screen mode. That's miserable. Get off the screen. Oh, I am holding escape. Why does it have to do this? All right, is this serious? Oh my. I don't know if you guys just had to see what happened on there. I don't know if it went full screen or not for you guys as well, but that is so fucking annoying. I can't even begin to say it. That happens all the time, by the way. And I have no idea what the shortcut is on my keyboard that even makes that happen to begin with. If I could disable it, I would remove the key because it seems to happen to me almost every single day. Hovland's also up at 73 strokes. So at 72 and a half, Corey Connors, a Victor Hovland would be a 0.5 discrepancy. I'm more so looking for either a stroke discrepancy or a lower tier player to fade. So maybe not good enough value on either of those two for me to actually play it. Hell, it might be the same thing as Underdog, guys, where I don't see enough value to want to go out there and play myself. And sometimes that's the prudent move, is to wait until either value ends up opening up because of some bumps or because of some course conditions lending themselves towards a certain play. So if you guys see anything on Sleeper that you guys really like, I really do like the over on Nick Taylor at 73 and a half. I mean, if you could find something to mix in with that, I'd be totally fine with playing it. Could be like another sport, like maybe you have some like baseball, NBA props that you're thinking about for tonight. You could take that with Nick Taylor if you wanted to and craft out a slip. But I just don't see anything obvious, like clear and obvious that I want to enter with it right now. So I'm going to hold off on posting the combination with Nick Taylor until the Patreon page later. And just like all the slips that I'm posting for round number 3, guys, you can find those on the Patreon page. On there, I'm posting every single slip as I'm getting to them. Also, the averages for every single round. Also, weather reports to give you guys all the insight on what to expect for all these given rounds to help not only help you with your research, find props for any of these given rounds, to give you ways to find an edge on any of these given props. I talk through the entire thought process on every single prop that I put out there. I'm not just a tout that says, I played these two, play them yourself because I know so much more than everyone else, and I'm just going to post a play and expect everyone to tail it. Hell no, right? That's not the expectation whatsoever with my Patreon page. My Patreon page is meant to be a place where you can learn to be a better. And hey, if you disagree with any of my takes, it's going to be clearly outlined why I'm on the play. If you don't follow that same kind of thought process, or maybe you just, don't see it the same way, then don't bet it, right? There's also that thought process, all that perspective behind it so that you can make educated betting decisions. And, throughout the process, as you guys are members on the Patreon page, the hope is that maybe after 6 months to a year that you know how to break down boards for yourself and you're able to go out there and find some success. So make sure to check that out if you guys haven't already for every single slip as I'm entering it. But the last thing we're going to go through here are going to be some matchups. So let's pick up the matchup tabs. Let's go through some of these 2 balls and perhaps see if we can find something to mix in. Let's see. There's a 50% profit boost on Sleeper. Oh boy. I guess we might be able to do that. He said, you cannot believe Taylor is still at 8 fairways. He thought it was a mistake. Me too, man. But don't say that too loudly, or maybe the PrizePicks people are going to move it. He said, how do sites post certain props and then take them down? That's what I mean, man. Like, how is that even remotely entertaining at all? As a consumer, like you're sitting there on the prop, you're like, okay, I like this. Let me find something to pair it up with. Half the time, by the time you find something to pair it up with, the other one moved. It's just stand behind your projections. Like, I don't know, maybe they have to like do something where they take more time to post their projections so that they don't have to spend all that time. But like, I think they need to do that, man. And yeah, you guys saw that comment from the William guy. I thought it was hilarious, but yeah, you don't gotta say that kind of shit in chat. Like I don't know. Like it's like something you say to like your buddies, like to like fuck with them, right? No one's gonna take it seriously. Like on the golf course, I might say that to my buddy. or something vulgar like that, just to like get in his head. You don't say it in like a public space in front of a million people. There might be kids watching the thing and stuff. You just don't do that. You don't do that around here. Maybe other live streams do. Not that we're the most classy people. We're a little bit more classy than that. That's for damn sure. Xander's minus 175 to go over the 7.5 fairways for what it's worth. Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, it seems like DraftKings seems to kind of agree with us that he's going to improve on what he's had the first few days. So yeah, it makes sense that they have that multiplier on it. That freaking profit boost, by the way. 4-player slip is kind of tough, but I mean, if you could find 4 props that you like, just throw a little sprinkle on it. I've seen worse things for a lottery slips. Yeah, Matsuyama could not find a fairway today. That is absolutely true. And you don't have to be so mean to him, man. Like some people just, they're tilting the stuff that goes through. And yeah, I try to put out some free plays and stuff. Hey, maybe he was being a dick and he deserves to get the flaming from you, Bobby. But we'll let it go. I'll let him go. He's probably just mad the slip didn't hit. And hey, I am too. I wish it would have hit for us too. Let's go through some matchups and whatnot. So here's all the different 2-balls. Just like yesterday, I ideally am looking for underdogs here just because it's a 50-50 bet. And if you work hard enough, sometimes you can find underdogs at plus money. Like, for example, Kuchar being minus 160 over Adam Hadwin. What the hell are we doing here? How does it make any remote sense? You've got Senior Tour Matt Kuchar, who, I mean, he's been dog shit this year. He's had like 1 or 2 decent events, a whole bunch of missed cuts, and events that just finishing outside the top 30. Adam Hadwin hasn't been that much better. Like, don't get me wrong. He's probably had one of the worst seasons of anyone in 2025, but he's at least not like nearly 50 at this point. He's not almost on the senior tour like a Matt Kuchar, and Adam Hadwin finished at the top 5 at this event last year. So I could just tell you right off the bat that is definitely something I'll be entering. I think he should be favored by like minus 130. I don't think he should be a plus 130 as the underdog there. Again, I just vehemently disagree with that. Noren Jaeger, yeah, tend to agree with that sort of one. Look at that. Like Scott, Brandt Snedeker and Matt Kuchar aren't that far off at this point. Like, and I love Cooch. I met Cooch at a Waffle House when I was at the RSM Classic. He'd actually missed the cut heading into moving day, so he wasn't going to be playing, but he was at Waffle House just kind of doing his own thing, and I shot the shit with him for like 15, 20 minutes. But like, he's on the same level as Snedeker now, and Scott is nearly minus 200 against him. I just do not get at all why Adam Hadwin could possibly be plus 130, especially if he had a good enough game to make the cut this week. Let's see what else we can work with. So Dietrich being the favorite over Dunlap makes sense, especially with how volatile Dunlap has been with the driving. Like, that's just, it's not that big a deal. Sepp Straka is the underdog against Siwoo. I don't agree with a lot of these matchups. Straka should be favored over Siwoo. Straka's a better player at this point than Siwoo. And trust me, I love Siwoo, but there's just no way that he should be favored over Straka, who's won multiple times this year. It is number 2 in the FedEx Cup or whatever he is at this point. He's either 2 or 3. I know he's behind Scotty. I'm not sure if he's behind Rory at this point or not. They've been kind of battling it 2 and 3 for most of the year. Even money on those 2 matchups kind of seem like they make sense. Yeah, these 2, the big misprices off the board so far. Like, a lot of these kind of underdogs make sense. Like, yeah, Cantlay should be favored over McIntyre. Sanjay should be favored over Pendrith. Like, I agree with a lot of these ones, but those first 2 are just literal head scratchers. I do not understand the thought process, like, from any which angle. Like, I can't even like rationalize it. Go like, oh, maybe the sports books are thinking this. Like, I just don't get it. Now, Hard Rock Bet is a little bit slower to posting a lot of these lines, so let me see if they have anything up quite yet, because I can't enter on DraftKings myself. I am from Florida, so I only have a Hard Rock Bet to actually place on. Well, let's see. Memorial, other futures. So yeah, they don't have their 3 balls posted, just some of the head-to-head matchups that aren't guys in the same tee time that are going against each other. But if I can get an Adam Hadwin at least plus 130, a Sepp Straka at least plus 100, I'm going to be a buyer there. And they usually end up posting the 3 balls on Hard Rock Bet that include a tie, which means, at least based on these odds, there's a chance I could get like plus 150 on Hadwin. If so, that'd be amazing. At least plus 140, plus 145 is what I'd want with the tie market. And then with Straka, like maybe plus 120, at least like plus 110, plus 115 is what I'd want on that sort of prop. We'll have to see what we can get over there on that side. But That's all I've got, guys. Best of luck with all of your round 3 action. Going to go ahead and deep dive the boards a little bit more for some of my Patreon members, which of course is where you can find all my exposure for tomorrow. And on top of just the prop stuff that we're going through here as well, you guys can find the Patreon page for all my DFS stuff. So we had the DFS stream a little bit earlier on this evening, which was on the Ship It Nation YouTube channel. On there, we talked about the slate. We're able to break it down and whatnot. But for all my projections, my player pool, all of that can be found on my Patreon page. So still doing all those projections, as a lot of you guys probably know. And the thing that I do for Showdown that a lot of people love with my projections is that I don't just tell people who I'm playing, but I tell them the why. I give ball striking poppers, short game regression candidates, guys with good course history, or even high upside golfers to help you round out your player pool. And not only do you have a 150 maxers perspective on what they're doing for a slate, they also have the most accurate projections in the industry. So make sure to check out the Patreon page for the DFS stuff. Also, all the prop stuff I mentioned before. That's all I've got, you guys. I appreciate you stopping by the live stream, showing all the love as you guys typically do. Smash that like button if you guys haven't already. Also subscribe to the channel so you guys don't miss any of the content to come. And I know we only have one more round this week on top of today. That'll be for Sunday, which we will have a live stream for tomorrow night, of course. But we've got golf on the whole rest of the schedule this year. So we've got plenty of events until we get to the playoffs, a couple more major championships, one of which I will be there in person for in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A whole lot of golf that you're not going to want to miss. So subscribe if you guys haven't already, and let's get after it. What's going on, Joseph? Love it, boys. Let's go. Akshay's stats are so far incredible. Thoughts on him for moving day? I'm with you, man. I mean, he looks really good. Just, it's going to be a tough slog out there. I think even like the guys with the best shots gain metrics are kind of going to have a rough go at it, but I think I'll have a better go than most people. You're nipping a short blends for me. Oh, I am jealous, man. No whiskey myself quite yet. Is it Thompson's plus 125 versus Connor's minus 175? In what world should Thompson be that big of an underdog? The sports books, I agree with you, Antonio. So just right off the bat, I'll say that. But they love Corey Connors. They like his consistency. I think it's because he gains strokes to the field in like 65% of his rounds. That is really, really impressive. That's probably why, but I agree with you. He shouldn't be. Appreciate you, Bobby, of course. Spieth is going to take this one. I hope so, bro. That would make this weekend a really fun one. And then Oakmont, cannot wait to get out there. But that's all I've got, guys. Appreciate you, and I'll see you guys a little bit tomorrow night.